people as possible, even those who may not have the chance to attend our flagship events. So basically to inspire the next generation of scientific leaders. And today's event is part of a virtual academy. So the name of the virtual academy is the Flavors of Scientific Leadership. And this is the first of a few events that will be coming up in the future. So we have about 5 events which we have planned for the future. These include things like career-focused interactive workshops, keynote talks, and panel discussions. So do keep an eye out on social media for our next events. And a bonus, if you do attend all of our 6 events, is that you get a certificate to say that you've attended these events and you've had the chance to network with the phenomenal speakers who attend these events as well. So moving on to the event today, we have 2 speakers, starting off with Mariana Ochoa. Mariana has a PhD in neuroscience, and she's a principal scientist at Karma Biotechnologies. We also have Ekaterina Smirnova. She has a PhD in chemical science and technology, and she's a business developer at Esvelion. So just before we get into the panel discussion, I'd just like to give the speakers an opportunity to quickly introduce themselves and tell us a bit more about what they do. Mariana, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you, Harini, for the introduction, and GBR for the opportunity to be here. I really admire your guys' mission. So a little bit about me, like you said, I'm the principal scientist at Karma Biotechnologies. I'm the head of the immunology department here. And I have a wonderful team with me working. We're a small startup at Karma Biotechnologies. We are invested in finding solutions for autoimmune disease. So the company developed a cell gene therapy platform that has many applications, and my department is in charge of some of the experiments regarding these applications. And a role of principal scientist means that I'm involved very much so with the science and decision-making process, but also given the size of the company being a startup, you have the opportunity of also learn and participate in process development, business development, fundraising. So it's been an amazing journey. My background, like Harini said, is in neuroscience. I did my PhD at USC in Los Angeles, where I currently live in, focusing on neuroimmunology of Alzheimer's disease. And prior to that, I'm from Brazil, so I did my undergraduate studies there in biology and biochemistry.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I can't wait to learn more about your career path. Ekaterina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Harindi. So I joined Mariana, and I would like to thank GBR for this fantastic initiative for today's event and in general. I think, guys, you are doing a great job. So keep it this way. And just short to introduce myself. So in my current role, I'm a business developer. So in this sense, maybe if I put a small contrast to Mariana's experience as a principal scientist, I'm no longer really doing science, though I am a chemist by training. So I have PhD in organic and analytical chemistry. But I did enjoy my day-to-day work, and I would like to share a little bit what is happening when you move from science, directly science-related job to more business field. So I hope this experience will be helpful for someone.
Great, thank you so much. And yeah, I think it will be quite insightful for everyone. Of course, everyone has different career paths they want to go down. Some people would want to stay in science, and of course, others would want to go into business development and other areas. So it's great to have 2 speakers who have completely different career paths, and it would be really interesting to dwell into that. Just before we move on, I'd like to tell the audience that if you do have any questions, you can put it down on the chat, and then we'll make sure that we answer as many of those as possible towards the end of the event. Okay, so Katharina, maybe we'll start off with you. Why don't you tell us, what your journey was like? Why did you choose to do a PhD? And then what made you decide to get into business development?
Let's start it this way. When I was, I think for everyone, for all of us, important decisions actually we are taken when we are kids or teenagers, no? Because everything starts what we like, what we feel, we have curiosity, what we have passion for. So for me, in this sense, it was very easy. When chemistry started at school, I felt, yes, this is something definitely for me. And then it started, and then I was lucky enough because there were several outreach organizations that trained school students. Later on in university, I had a chance to perform 2 short stays. This, I think, was plausibly very, very important part that did influence for me the decision to go abroad to pursue a PhD. And so after I defended my master thesis, just 6 months before that, I was for the first time in Spain. And it was a part of learning how to work in totally different environment, facing a lot of challenging because culture, language, everything was totally new. I need to say I fell in love with sun, with warm sea, with palm trees, and with culture of people. So then when I started to think, yes, I would like to go for a PhD, I also thought that plausibly I would like to perform a PhD somewhere where I also will enjoy other parts. So that's why I came to Spain for PhD. And maybe a small advice for everyone. So when you are thinking about your career steps, also don't only focus about career perspective. You also should think where you will feel comfortable. But to take a challenge, it's always of course there. And then PhD started. At the beginning of PhD, I was 100% sure I would like to become an academic professor. I would like to have my own research group. I would like to publish a lot of articles to solve difficult problems. And it seemed to be so clear and seemed to be almost there. And then I think PhD, it's a journey. I don't know if I'm thinking too long time, so Mariana for sure will share her experiences about PhD, how it was. So in my case, I think in addition to solving scientific challenges and problems and feel satisfied while doing that, it also brought me maybe some more self-understanding. Maybe it's also because at different age, so different parts of our life, we mature, we understand what we really like, not some specific things, but also something more like soft skills. And for me, maybe it was the moment to realize that communication is something that I enjoy a lot, that I like to communicate not only with the flasks, with the reactions and praise that they work the way I want them to do, but as well with people. And in general, that I like a lot to work in a team. So I think that was the moment when I realized that maybe more cross-functional role would satisfy better my my needs.
Great, thank you so much for that. Mariana, what about you? How did you decide and why did you decide to move out of academia? You obviously still are in science and you're a scientist, but why biotech and why not in academia?
Right, like that. Thank you for the question. That's a really good question. I think when I was in Brazil, I didn't have biotech is not a huge industry there. So the obvious choice was to pursue a master's, PhD, postdoc, professor. And then when I came to the US and I saw that there was all this possibility, it got me really excited. One thing that I think sealed the deal for me is that I started participating in events where I met founders, I met people in the community, in the biotech industry here in Los Angeles, and just hearing them talking about their work and the impact that they want to cause in the world, it's like you see their eyes sparkling. It's really beautiful. There's an excitement and there's a will to help each other out. So a very tight community. We often don't talk about that, but in academia, it can be tough pursuing your PhD, not only from obviously the scientific endeavor that you are, of the scientific question that you're trying to answer that is very unique, but from a mental health standpoint, it can be a very lonely journey. I feel like it depends very much on which lab you end up joining, what kind of mentor you have. Sometimes you're lucky to have a very present one, but that's not a given. So I've seen, not only with my own experience, but looking at my friends, how that could take a toll on you, and then people displaying like low self-esteem. And I was like, that's not the kind of environment that I thrive in. I like collaborative environment. I like teamwork, and I like having a mission that I can, just be open and dedicate myself to. And I found that in biotech. So I was very decided to transition. So then the question was just like, oh, what do I do to make that happen?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And with that, that was basically where I was going next. So maybe Mariana, you can continue as well on telling me how did you kind of make that transition? You finished your PhD, and then, what was the application process like? Did you first apply to be a scientist, or was it something else? How did that go?
Yeah, I'm a planner. So I was looking at my schedule the other day, and I saw that I started doing things like 3 years before my graduation. And I think things that helped me, that may help people in the audience right now, it's just I started with attending talks or little like small summits that are local that I could just escape from the lab a little bit and just learn about the regulatory pathways and just the dynamic of biotech in the language. I was able to take business class because neuroscience is a interdepartmental subject here. So I was able to take those classes, and it was very obvious to me that jargon and way of speaking can be a barrier. I remember being told, it's like a technical person, like, do you understand what you're talking about, technical person? I was like, oh, yes, I do. It's not, I can't understand. I'm just learning a new language. And so be patient with me. And I noticed that afterwards, knowing that and being comfortable with that resulted in a positive impression during my interviews. And I was also able to take an internship in a medtech accelerator pitch event. So those are some of the initiatives that I took during my PhD that helped me prepare. So when I was catering my CV to a scientist position, I was able to draft it in a way that was more result-oriented, that had the skill sets that are valued in industry. And so I thought that was helpful. And to find my first job, I went to LinkedIn and I applied kind of blindly that way, and luckily got the job.
Great, thank you so much for that. So basically, a lot of, I guess, networking, and then definitely your internships. What about you, Katerina? It must have been quite different because, you were in kind of a chemistry background, and then did you first did you directly go into business development, or was it something you built? Did you have a few years out of your PhD and then did you build it that way?
So it's like I I guess I'm an example of not a linear career path that is more and more common gets in the past years. And indeed, Harindi, you are right. So for me, it was not so straightforward. But I definitely agree with Mariana that it is essential, first of all, to know where would you like to go. And if we start with this question, it is not so easy because sometimes we are confused, sometimes we are interested in too many things, and sometimes after PhD, especially if we don't select a scientific related career, it is more challenging. But in my case, it was at the end of the postdoctoral stay that I more or less 1.5 years before I finished, I also started to take active steps towards. Sorry, there is my dog here. Towards the transition. So, and I definitely advise same several points. It is important to network a lot, because if you don't talk to people who might do what you would like to do, you will never know how it is, what is day to day. It is important also to see more in detail exactly what the job can be, and to make a connection, because eventually, if afterwards you apply for a job and someone remember you from event, career fair, course, it's always easier to get attention. And in addition, skills. So I think nowadays hiring by skills is something that is very very common. And in my case, so first I did a transition to project management. I think it's one of the logical pathways, because already during PhD and later on during the postdoc, to manage the project, it's something that we handle, that we know how to handle very well. I mean, it requires more. It is the scope is bigger, because some things are not just related to scientific point, but it's more financial point, and how you represent idea, and how this going to impact the society. And after that, I need to say that already during PhD, I was quite involved in outreach activities. So outreach activities and communication was something that I had passion since I was a child, because I did experience the profit of it on myself. So that helped me a lot enhance communication skills, because as Mariana mentioned, language. Now I'm not talking about real language like English, German, Spanish, whatever, but the language that you talk. It's very important that the person on the other side can understand you. And when you go to business, this is the key. If this is the skill that you struggle with, you really have to put your attention on that, because effective communication and efficient communication is one of the skills that for business is a must.
Great, thank you so much for that. So moving on, Mariana, with your current job, and obviously, through your path as developing as a scientist, what were some of the things that you consider most challenging, and also what parts of it do you enjoy?
Okay, thank you for the question. I guess one of the things that were most challenging to me was transitioning again from this you alone in your project, being responsible for everything in academia, to the industry where everybody is working toward the same goal, and you really depend on everybody working at their most effective way. So it's very important for you to rely on people, and then to Ekaterina's point, be very effective communicating your needs, communicating your results, communicating your goals and what you think are the pitfalls, the blind spots, all of that. And just to get acquainted with the team, it is a learning process. And I guess in the sense that the small biotech world, like small and medium one, is so fast-paced, and the technologies usually have a lot of potential. So being able to be focused and intentional, because the business changes can change faster than the science. The science, you have to be methodical, you need months of planning. So just having these two sides of the brain aligned, it was also a really interesting learning process for me. Challenging, but also one that I enjoyed very much.
Great, thank you so much for that. Ekaterina, what about you?
Well, I think in general, when a scientist, the person that perform PhD in any field, biotech, chemistry, biology, when we leave a lab and when we get a desk job, we always maybe partially like the back noise in our head says to us, or maybe it's a failure. So I think it is something that we have to leave behind, to understand that alternative career path can be as interesting, as challenging, personal growth, and everything you might have been looking in a scientific career. Just maybe because it comes more from historical point of view, from the view of education, that or from how all the generations had their career path that was more linear, more logical. Then I think it's something for generation of today to assume that it is actually interesting, and it is important to switch between fields, to learn new skills, and that will keep you motivated, because most probably, just today by coincidence, I read something on the LinkedIn that was probably for us, or for people that are slightly younger than us, we will have to work not for 40, but maybe for 60 years, because we live too long, because the health is too good. So then imagining doing the same job for 60 years, I think we are gonna get mad. so that's something that was, but it was challenging at the beginning. It was challenging because at certain point I had an internal doubt, because I was thinking, I think I didn't feel like working in the lab anymore, because it was no longer satisfying me. But I was also scared how it's gonna be if I will not be working in the lab, because I have been doing it for the past 10 years. So so then I think it was challenge, and surely when you apply for jobs, like in a non-linear career path, when you apply for jobs, you always have to think how you can, because you eventually have a lot of skills. When we come from academic world, from scientific world, from biotech world, we have a lot of skills, and these skills can be very useful in business job, management job, a consulting job, this type of fields. So to connect these dots and to take this challenge, I think that was a challenge, the main one.
Great, thank you so much for that. So obviously you've been in business development for a while, and then you have your academia, and then how you kind of transitioned. What do you think were some of like your biggest lessons? And if someone were to, if someone here is finishing their PhD soon and wants to kind of transition into business development, but they don't know where to start, where would you tell them to start?
In general, my advice would be sometimes after PhD, because Mariana also shared that it is quite a journey. So not only from the point of view that we are solving difficult scientific challenges, but also sometimes it's a lonely journey. Sometimes it's too much mental pressure. You don't feel supported. I wish I could say it's more like of a full group of people, teamwork, but in most of the cases it's a lonely project, or maybe less collaborative than you would like it to be. So then I think quite some of us, we come at the end with an idea that we accomplished a lot, we suffered enough, and now it's a moment for something rewarding. So I say for any transferable job that you go, you have to be prepared for a new challenge. It's going to be different, and you have to see it. You have to see it as an opportunity to apply what you already have learned, and to be open to learn a lot of new things. So instead of what I'm trying to get to, so instead of trying to hit your dream job or how you imagine itself, I would say try to go with an opportunity that is in front of you, well, that presents itself. Try to appreciate this chance, because switching between the fields, sometimes it's more tricky. And then when you have an opportunity, try to get most of it, because this first experience in a new field will give you a lot. And so I would advise everyone to be a little bit bold and have a clear, maybe as a final goal, but not try to get to that final goal directly. So by networking, by exploring the market, to find your door, to open this door, and try to take the max advantage of this experience.
Great, thank you so much for that. So Mariana, picking up from Ekaterina's advice, one thing that I noticed was that you probably started off as a scientist, and then you actually progressed through your career quite fast to get to principal. And I'm sure you had to kind of stick up for yourself and kind of show everyone, sell yourself and actually show your peers what you've done and what you can achieve. So what was that like? Because often when we try to promote ourselves, that's something that we shy away from doing. And how has that, have you been doing that actively for yourself? And if so, how has that helped you?
Yes. Yeah, I do admit it was quite a fast trajectory inside the company. I think one of the skills that helped me the most, and that I would advise people to apply as early as possible, is people management. Not only your direct reports, but how you manage laterally and up, and just how you again, this theme of communication, which it's so important in leadership, and understanding how is the best way for people to perceive your message. In a diverse company, more often than not, people are not going to have the same assumptions or just the same style as you to make decisions or to interpret something. So your success and your perceived effectiveness is very much tied with how you pass information along, and how do you talk to people so you can get your goals met. In terms of development, there's also the point to Ekaterina's message is when I interviewed, I actually told my boss that I was interested in the business component, not only on doing the science. So And just by being open that way, he was very, he's an awesome person, awesome leader. And apologize for my cat. He was very keen to mentor me. Now, obviously, like in a fast-paced environment, this can be forgotten, but I would often remind him, I was like, you know, this is an interest of mine. Would you mind me sitting in this room with you and the CFO and taking notes? So that's how I started. And I'm still very much interested in the business part, obviously attached with the scientific decision-making process. But as you make yourself available and as you present how your presence there can improve their work and their organization, and you bring something to the table, I've noticed that I was just getting more visibility and more things to do. So I think that really impacted the scope of what I could be doing in the company. I don't think I would be doing competitive analysis if I hadn't spent time sitting with the CFO of the company who didn't have a scientific background and explaining the science, discussing how or picking his brain to understand how he makes his decision. So I guess it would be a mix of advocating for yourself, make yourself available, and just trying to see what are the needs or blind spots of the company or the information, and try to fill those in. That would show that you were very valuable to the company and help your trajectory upward.
Oh, that's actually really insightful. And I think you've used you've spoken to your boss about your needs, like outside of, your actual job as a scientist. And then, so putting yourself out there and actually communicating your needs well and negotiating how you could help them, but at the same time, do your job, I guess, has really helped you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Moving on, we just wanted to kind of understand what your idea of a leader was, because what we're trying to do here is trying to inspire the next generation of leaders in biotech. So Ekaterina, how would you describe leadership, and what do you define as successful leadership?
Thank you. I think it's thank you, Harinde. I think it's a very important topic, and eventually for us through all career paths, people who lead us, they in partial ways they do determine our future, right? So they make an impact. So when one becomes a leader, first of all, I think it's a lot of responsibility that one has to handle. And through my experience, I would say that to be a successful leader, to be a leader that brings other leaders out, I think that's kind of, if we can introduce a little bit of the business terminology, KPI here, that the person that makes other leaders, other successful leaders, I think it's someone who has an empathy. That's definitely, through my experience, is an important feature. Communication. I think communication, it's always I think it is as essential in the personal life as in professional life, and I think it's maybe just essential skills that human beings need day to day, second every moment we live. And I think in communication, maybe I can specify feedback, very regular and specific feedback. And this I think definitely can facilitate and can solve a lot of doubts that team members can have throughout the journey, and a clear vision. So in my opinion, a leader is a person that not that can say you what the better focus will be for the next week, but no, but the person who do see where the company will be in 2 years, where you will be in 2 years, or maybe will what I really like that that Mariana highlighted is that also listens to team members. So listens what are your desires, what are your intentions, where do you see yourself going, then analyzes okay, how it is can be aligned with let's say company vision, and then finds a way and finds the tools to help you to get there. So I think here I will finish up.
I think you actually just led me into what I was going to talk about next in terms of, you mentioned how it's really important to kind of, have your long-term kind of goals in place and then see how it, fits in with the company. So I'll just move on to Mariana. What are your kind of long-term goals and visions, and how are you planning for that?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I guess these past 3 years with Karma and seeing the company from inception, I was employee number 3, to growing with the company and participating in different spheres. Leadership is something that makes me very excited. I second everything that Ekaterina said. Being present and being open are very important traits of leaders. And I guess for my future, what I would really like to happen is to continue on this trajectory of finding mission and goals that or purposes that I'm excited about, and just find an environment or a culture or a team that is like-minded, that is as invested, as excited, and that allows you to be open to just give your all to that endeavor. I enjoy very much working with people, and I've learned that, like Ekaterina said, if you are able to listen, to do constant reviews, to make sure you can get this information that sometimes it's kind of amorphous and fluid, and just make specific action items or a clear vision, allowing also for people to pitch in, because you don't know everything, and you'll be amazed how much contribution you can get if you just put the vision out on the table and let people brainstorm. So those are things that excite me a lot. I want to continue growing on the business side, but not getting too far from the scientific area as well. This is all very new to me, so I'm learning what are the name of the roles that I can be pursuing in the future. But I've learned that if you keep networking and building meaningful relationship with your connections, not only like the small talks, which I definitely not good at, but you actually checking constantly, offer, just a normal relationship, and just be open and be yourself, that can open many doors. I've seen with my CEO, the CEO of my company, that he he's just himself, and he let himself be vulnerable, and people see him for who he is. And it's very noticeable how many people stand behind him and just go above and beyond to just help him with the vision that he has for his life or for his company. So that would be my advice.
Great, thank you so much, Mariana. One thing that has, come out of like both of your conversations today is the importance of kind of talking to people and being able to network. And on that line, we actually have a question from the audience, and that was basically about how the both of you have emphasized how networking is an important skill. And Rashi basically wants to know, what is your favorite networking tip that you would like to share? And how can we get better at networking with a mindset of a bio entrepreneur? Ekaterina, would you like to take that first?
Thank you. Thank you, Harindi. It's a very interesting question. And indeed, we both mentioned the importance of networking. And I think sometimes it's easier to say than to do, especially when you are just at the beginning. So I think it's pretty normal to be in a big room surrounded by very smart people. And then sometimes we tend to lack confidence and we think, oh, if I ask a question, what if it's not a smart one? If I make a comment, what if it's not the right one? If I talk to this person, maybe this person, it's too important for me. So most of these doubts are the back holders that prevent you to actually do networking. I think in this sense, what would be really helpful is try to be yourself, not to pretend to impress someone or go with not really an intention. And I again really like the comment of Mariana about the head of your company. It is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to be human being. It is okay to have feeling. It is okay to come with a simple comment and to say, this work that you have just described really impacted me. But yeah, sorry, it is a little bit outside of my field. I didn't understand that. And then just try to make a very simple and normal conversation like you would do if it would not be an official event. And then it starts. And then you actually, after several times, you will see that people, most of the times, are looking forward to talk to you. They want to share. And this will bring you more and more confidence. So, and then at a certain point, it will become so natural that you will no longer have to make any effort. So that would be advice for me. Be yourself.
Thank you, Katerina. And Mariana, what about you?
Yeah, thank you, Rashi, for the question. I mean, I second Ekaterina, like be yourself. In specifically the mindset of the entrepreneur that I was looking at the question. I feel like people, I think your vibe really matters more than exactly what you're saying. So when you're comfortable being yourself, I think that you project the best vibe, for like a better scientific term here. For me, I remember having so much anxiety over working events and not really knowing what to do, and end up being like on the side, introducing myself and going to grab water or something. It kind of changed when I decided to, on an event, to make one friend. And with that mindset, I'm better at one-on-one and devoting attention to one person. And I like to know what makes people happy, what they're doing. So with that mindset, for me, it was easier to get closer. And I'm like, well, if you can make one meaningful connection per event, and then that you can go back to those connections, then you were being successful, right? The other thing that, I don't know if that's kosher to say, but I think that the night events are a little bit easier because people are more relaxed. There's food, the drinks, and those I feel like, yeah, it's more easygoing, and there's no pressure of like, oh, you have to network and you have to prove that you were, how amazing you were. I think that ended up being a barrier in the end.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And I think your kind of tip about going for the night events and basically kind of, I guess, understanding where you're most comfortable and then just trying to put yourself out there by making it a bit easier at the start. And then once you, I guess, gain confidence, you can like, attend other events. Great. So yeah, so Rashi says that was really helpful. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're getting quite close to the end, but just before we finish, We had some people just joining. I just wanted to say that we're actually recording this and it will be out on YouTube soon. So for anyone who did join later on, you can always view this later on. But before we end, this is a question to the both of you. What pieces of like final advice do you have for our audience? The most important thing that you think they should take out of this, if they are recent graduates and trying to navigate their way into getting into biotech. Mariana, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I would say was something that Katerina said right in the beginning. Do not be bold. Do not be shy to express your needs. Obviously, be mindful that you're talking to people. Try to read the room. Try to learn about them. Not make everything about you. In the biotech, I feel like being a team player is one of the big assets that you can offer. And that's kind of hard. Like everybody says, they're team players. So if you have solid examples that you can give as an anecdote, that would be helpful and great. And I also want to say that if any of you want to add me to your network and want to chat after this, I'm open and be excited to get to know you all more.
Great. And Katerina?
So I will join this last comment of Mariana. Indeed, it is Mariana. It is. I think it is important nowadays to be a team player. The problems are too complex, too multidisciplinary. So, but if you are looking for a job and you have certain skills and you have examples of how you were a part of a team and how it helped to solve a difficult issues, that's definitely something very very useful to share. And I say that we have so many challenges now nowadays. It's so much excitement. So I think it's just so many amazing opportunities out there. So you have to be open and you don't have to be scared to try something new, something that you think you maybe not good at, or other way around, something that maybe you think you don't know much about it. It's just only the reason to get deeper and to explore it and to see and to find out for yourself. And yeah, I also would be very happy if to help anyone who has any additional questions. So you can count on me as well. And once again, GBR, it is a fantastic initiative, and I think you guys are doing a very, very good job.
Great, thank you so much for that. Just before we close off, I'd like to say again that we are recording this. So if anyone wants to go back and have a look, then you can, of course, go on to YouTube and have a look. Of course, do keep looking at our social media because we have new events that are coming up. And yeah, so moving on to our speakers, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. I'm sure our audience learned a lot of things from you. And also thank you to our audience for taking the time to be here today, and also to some of our committee members who actually helped put this event together. So Diana especially, she couldn't be here on camera because she has other calls from work that she needed to attend. But of course, she put this together, so she definitely needs to be acknowledged. And also to Nevena and everyone else, and as well as Maria Elena for helping to put this event together. And thank you again to our speakers and to our audience. If you do want to get in contact with them, I think Diana put their LinkedIn profiles on the chat. And like they said, that love to interact with you afterwards as well. So yeah, thank you so much. And we hope to see all of you again soon at our next event. Great. Thank you so much for today. I think everyone has left. So yeah, thank you so much. I think Diana wants to say a few words as well. I need to rush off, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. And it was really great hosting the two of you. And hopefully we can keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, Harindi. It was nice having you as mediator.
Thank you very much, Harindi, for hosting.
worries.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.